You ever see an opportunity and think, that's too good to be true? Read through the fine print, find out more about it, waiting with bated breath for when it turns out you're right. Here's a piece of advice I'll give you. I'm sure you've heard it before. I did too. Yet, here I am. When something seems too good to be true, it is. Here I am now, 9 more hours sitting at this desk watching security feeds. Then I get to go home and wonder why the hell I believed that this overpaid and seemingly simple security position didn't come with a catch. Why I didn't notice all the red flags in between seeing the offer online and getting here. Why I genuinely believed I'd be lucky to have the chance to regret my actions after my shift. Let's go back to earlier today. There I was switching between browse and Reddit when a refresh revealed something new that caught my eye. A basic security position. Job description basically amounted to locking the doors at night, watching cameras, and calling the company if anything bad happened. And in the description they said that they would pay $37 an hour. I was immediately skeptical at the high wage for a basic security job, especially considering the company had next to no info on its website. Their small website had pictures of the founders, but no information of what they actually did. However, I had the qualifications from a class I'd taken a year ago, and the possibility of walking away with $300 that night. It seemed enticing, to say the least, even if it might have been a scam. I figured it couldn't hurt to send a resume and see what happened. Well, I got a call from a private number not an hour after submitting my application. The conversation was odd. The person on the phone seemed like they had no experience hiring other people before, and their voice seemed somewhat stressed and worried. Couple more red flags, but I was still in the, hey, it may be legit phase, so I overlooked it. I'll try to recreate the phone conversation here.
Hello? Is Christopher there?
Said the voice on the other end. I replied, yes, this is he. Who is this?
This is Daniel Edwards, head of security, head of HR, former head of security. I'm calling because you submitted an application to us.
Daniel paused. I waited, expecting for him to continue, but when his silence dragged on a moment too long, I realized he was done speaking. What about my application?
Oh, well, we'd like you to come in for an interview. Your credentials seem good. Can you come in today? Maybe like 2 hours from now?
I was surprised. It seemed to me like either A, it was a scam, or B, they needed to fill the position fast. Maybe even by tonight. If it was the latter, I was pretty sure I could talk them up to an even higher wage. So I made my decision there. I'd check out the place on Google Street View, and if it seemed a little shady, I just wouldn't show up for the interview. Sure thing, I can make it. Daniel then hung up the phone before I even finished speaking. Fast forward to 2 hours later, I arrived at a fenced-off property in my city's industrial district, occupied by 2 buildings. They bore minimal markings and logos, but appeared to be in fair condition, and supposedly still belonged to the company I was going there to see. I pulled my 2001 Honda Civic through the gate and into the parking lot. Something felt slightly off right away, though I didn't pick up on what it was until later. The parking lot was empty, except for one other car, I stepped out and walked into the large one-story building facing directly onto the parking lot. The door was unlocked. The receptionist's desk was empty. And I recall noticing there was dust on the blades of the fan that sat there. There was no email address in the post on this job site, and Daniel had called me from a private number. Unsure what to do, I waited in the small lobby for a few minutes and looked around at my surroundings. The entrance was a single glass door, and the front wall was made up of floor-to-ceiling windows. A metal shutter system rested on the outer wall above the glass, and a control panel on the wall inside. The receptionist's desk sat against the wall opposite to the door. On either side of the room were 8 chairs and 2 small coffee tables, complete with old magazines. To the left, a short hallway led past a single door on either side, terminating at a heavy unpainted metal exterior door bearing dents of various sizes and shapes. For some odd reason, the exterior door made me feel pretty uneasy. All 3 doors contain a single small window, the kind with wire mesh inside, obscured by black paint or cloth on the inside. To the right led another hall. Oddly enough, I can't recall the length, and I usually have good attention to detail. Was it 4 doors on either side? No. 2? 16 maybe. I'm not sure it had a length. I didn't look at the end of the right hallway. Behind the receptionist's desk was another longer hallway terminating in a T intersection. The first door on the left was made of brown painted metal and bore a small placard which read Security Office. After waiting for a few minutes, a man rushed in through the front door. Sorry to have to keep you waiting. I'm Joshua Collins, head of security. He spoke quickly and seemed frantic and skittish. He didn't hold eye contact for more than a second at a time as he shook my hand. I could feel that his palms were sweaty and cold. Christopher Newman. I paused for a second, suddenly hit by a wave of skepticism, and decided to test if he could keep his story straight. I spoke to a man named Daniel Edwards on the phone. I thought he said he was head of HR. Joshua ignored me and continued. Mr. Newman, my company needs a new security guard fast. The last 2 quit this morning, and we can't afford to go a night without someone watching the property. We've tried to get you here as fast as possible because you'll need to be ready to work by sunset. We're in a rush, so we'll skip the usual process. If you're able to start right now, then you can consider yourself hired. Your salary is $37 an hour. Hey, non-negotiable. Sign this NDA and you can start right now. I didn't like how aggressive he was being, but it had showed that I was right. They were looking for a fast, probably temporary hire. I wasn't about to turn down that kind of money. I flipped through the NDA. It was a long one, so I skipped most of it. But I know how these contracts are. Don't disclose company secrets, yada, yada, yada. I signed it and followed Joshua, or Daniel, or whoever he was, to the security office. The orientation was short and simple. Here's your keychain. This one opens the door to the security office. This one opens most of the other offices. And this one controls the shutter on the front windows. Here's your mag light. You can use it as a baton in a pinch, but you're probably better to just lock yourself in the office. And call us if you see anything suspicious. All you have to do is sit in the office and watch the camera feeds. You don't need to patrol since you don't have a partner to watch the feeds when you're gone. Let's see. We don't have to provide a uniform. Just put your badge on, your shirt. And yeah, the front door is the only one that's unlocked right now. Ignore the other exterior doors and the offices in the long hallway. And lock the front gate. And that's it. What's this binder for? I asked, pointing at a white binder on the desk, bearing the company logo. Oh, just read that during your shift. Joshua looked uncomfortable at the mention of the binder and avoided my gaze as he quickly replied. He didn't wait to see if I had further questions before he hurriedly left, getting into the only car in the parking lot, apart from mine, and speeding off. I assumed my security guard role right away. I went outside and locked the gate, closed the metal shutter over the front glass, and locked the front door. Then I sealed myself in the security office and opened the binder up. The binder is what prompted me to write this down. When I opened it, I expected a long, boring write-up of company policy involving various situations that may happen after hours. Specific rules for dealing with burglars and vandals, that sort of thing. Instead, there was only one page. What was on that page made me realize that this job was, in fact, too good to be true, and is why I'm genuinely terrified right now. The binder read, "Welcome. There are 10 company rules security personnel must follow in order to ensure their safety and well-being. The long hallway is off limits. If you cross the threshold from the lobby, turn around immediately and walk back. Do not run. Do not look at the long hallway for prolonged periods. If any security camera shows it, shut it down immediately. Do not open the door at the end of the short hallway. Building 2 is off limits and is to be observed only via camera feeds. If you must go outside, use only the front door. The coffee machine will turn on automatically at 2:17 a.m. Ensure a cup is placed beneath it prior to this time. When the liquid is dispensed into the cup, place it outside the door of the security office. Lock the door and do not open it again until 2:37 a.m. Do not leave the security office between 4:01 and 4:02 a.m. If you hear a female voice coming from an unknown location within the building, unlock the door on the left of the short hallway. Do not enter the room unless the voice invites you to do so. Do not look her in the face. If you hear a male voice upon unlocking the door, return to the security office immediately. If you feel as though you are in immediate danger, call this number using the phone in the security office. Do not contact emergency services before sunrise. Do not, under any circumstances, attempt to leave before sunrise. I started to sweat. I got 9 more hours left in the shift. I'd rather walk out of here broke than stick around for the rest of the night. But the instructions made it clear that I'll have to stick it out until morning. Wish me luck. Update. It's currently 2:15 a.m. It's been fairly uneventful so far, and I hope I don't jinx it by saying that. I've just stayed in the office and split my time between watching security camera feeds and browsing Reddit to calm my nerves. It's demon coffee time in 2 minutes. The cup is already in place and I'm hoping everything goes well. Update. It's 3:30 a.m. Coffee disappeared after being left outside the door. I heard something knocking and scratching at the door during the time I was told to keep it closed, though I wasn't able to see it on the cameras. There's a persistent shadow in the corner of the room that seems darker than a normal shadow. It doesn't go away even when I shine my flashlight right at it. The instructions didn't say anything about a shadow, so I'm just going to not touch it and occasionally check to see if it changes size or moves or anything. Still haven't heard the woman's voice. I could have sworn I glimpsed a humanoid figure on the building, though I can't find it when I inspect the feeds more closely. I no longer have even the slightest doubt that this place is haunted. Update. It's 4:29 a.m. I was feeling pretty shaken, so I didn't write this up immediately. But here's basically what happened. I'll put it in more detail in my next post. I heard the woman's voice. I was going to ignore it until 4:02, but it got louder and louder until it hurt. And I gave in. She invited me in, but I heard the male voice as soon as I sat down, and I ran back to the office. As for what happened at 4:01, I'll write that up later. I'm still really shaken by it. I'll just say I was glad for the reinforced metal door on the office, and that I really, really regret taking this job. That's all for now. I'll check in later. Wish me luck.